Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel where we talk about vinyl records. Now this week's episode is coming from a request. We do take requests, so if you have one, let us know in the comments. We'll get to it. And the subject is 10 of our favorite double albums in the collection. Now this ended up being a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be because there are a lot of double albums in the collection and only room for 10 on the top 10 list, so some very great records had to be left out of the list. We'll get to it in a second. First of all, these are just studio double albums from bands. No live albums, no compilations, no greatest hits albums, just studio albums. And these are also in no particular order. It's hard enough to come up with the top 10. Not going to try to rank these. They're all great, and probably not too many surprises in this list. But anyway, we'll get to it. First up, an album we talked about a few weeks ago on this channel, The Clash, London Calling. Great album. Great double album here. There's all four sides of the thing, and I mean, of course, The Clash are a great band. What makes this double album so great, I think, is just the variety on here. There's horns, there's organs, there's guitars, there's punk, there's rockabilly, there's some reggae. There's just everything is going on here. There's one great song after the next, and this album works in any situation. It doesn't matter. You have people over, somebody's gonna. There's something on here for everyone to like, and that's why it's one of the greatest albums of all time, and definitely one of my top 10 favorite double albums. Another one that you've heard mentioned before, if you watched my video on Frank Zappa, you know that this was my number one Frank Zappa album, Joe's Garage, Acts 1, 2, and 3 here. I guess technically this is a triple album, but I'm going to allow it on the list because it is my favorite Frank Zappa album. And this is a concept album here, and it tells the story of Joe and Mary, the dangers of the music business, narrated by Frank as the central scrutinizer. You've got the title track, Catholic Girls, Watermelon and Easter Hay, just a wonderful piece of music there. A Little Green Rosetta, Keep It Greasy. There's so many songs on here, I could go on and on, but yeah, definitely one of my favorite double albums. And one of my favorite Frank Zappa albums, too. Here's an album we talked about in last week's video, the Jimi Hendrix Experience, Electric Ladyland. Last week we talked about albums that have great closing tracks, and this was one of them. In fact, the last two songs on this album, All Along the Watchtower and Voodoo Child, Slight Return, are both great tracks. And I mean, this album is just full of great songs. Crosstown Traffic, Lone Strange, Long Hot Summer Night, Gypsy Eyes. So many good songs on here. And it's the whole album's just four sides of guitar mastery here, of course, with Hendrix. And just a great, great double album here. Up next, and this is probably not going to surprise too many of you, the Beatles' White Album. Of course, one of the greatest albums of all time, one of the greatest double albums of all time. Now, this is, I don't think that this is their best album, but it is my favorite Beatles album, if that makes any sense. And the reason that it's my favorite is because of just the amount of songs on here, the amount of variety on here. I mean, While My Guitar Gently Weeps sounds nothing like Helter Skelter. You've got the reggae influence, Obla Di Obla Da. You've got Back in the USSR. You've got whatever Revolution 9 is. Happiness is a Warm Gun is one of my favorite Beatles songs. I'm So Tired is another one of my favorite Beatles songs. And of course, Blackbird is on here. There's so many good songs on this album. But you all know the White Album. It's probably in all of your collections already. One of my favorite double albums, though. Up next, Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti, their double album. And this is another guitar masterclass here. Jimmy Page, such a great guitar player. Man, we wore this album out back when I was in high school. So many songs on here that are just great. Down by the Seaside, 10 Years Gone, Custard Pie, Kashmir, In My Time of Dying, Trampled Underfoot, Houses of the Holy. Just a masterpiece right here, and definitely one of my top 10 favorite double albums of all time. This still sounds great, and then Led Zeppelin sounds amazing on vinyl too. One of those bands that you almost need to listen to them on vinyl. Up next, Fleetwood Mac, Tusk, their double album. This came out after, this was the follow-up to their Rumors album, which was wildly successful. Still one of the highest selling albums of all time today. So that's a tough act to follow, and the critics weren't really that kind to this album when it first came out. I don't know if people feel different about it now. I've always thought that this was a great album. I love this album. I think that there's a ton of good songs on here, and I mean, maybe they got carried away a little bit. So what? It's great. Think About Me, Save a Place, Storms, the Stevie Nicks written Storms, one of my favorite songs of hers. Sisters of the Moon. There's so many good songs on here. This is a fantastic double album and one of my top 10 favorites. Up next, we have Prince, Sign of the Times. Amazing album here, an amazing double album here. I believe this was, from what I heard anyway, this was supposed to be a triple album, and the record label made him cut it down to two albums. And the amount of great songs that are on here, you can only imagine how this would have worked as a triple album. There's the track list there. This is, I have to pull this one out and look at it. It's actually on colored vinyl, I believe. Yeah, peach vinyl. Looks cool. But yeah, a bunch of great songs on here. Sign of the Times, You Got the Look, Starfish and Coffee, If I Was Your Girlfriend, I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man. You got a bunch of different styles on here too. Funk, soul, pop. I mean, it's Prince. You know, he's gonna do something great every time he puts out an album. Up next, classic album here, Bob Dylan's Blonde on Blonde. Now I heard that this was the first double album, or in popular music anyway. And I don't know if that's true or not, but what is true is that it's one of my top 10 favorite albums, double albums of all time. Just about everything Bob Dylan did in the 60s was a great album. Just about everything he did in the 70s is a great album for that matter. And this is one of my favorites here. Just one great song after the next. Visions of Johanna is on here. Absolutely Sweet Marie. Just Like a Woman. I Want You. So many good songs on here. And this is a fantastic double album. It was recorded in Nashville with a lot of studio musicians, I believe. But you can read stories about the recording of this, and them going all night, jamming on tracks until they got it. What Bob wanted, and just amazing album here. One of my favorites. Up next, another one that probably doesn't come as a surprise to too many people. Pink Floyd's The Wall album. Classic double album here. Classic concept album. And a concept album that actually works here. A lot of them don't. This one actually does. If you listen to this album from start to finish, it does tell a story. It goes through the school days and childhood all the way up to being a grown adult and being in a band. And of course, it's full of great songs. Another Brick in the Wall, all three parts. Hey You is on here, Comfortably Numb, The Thin Ice, Run Like Hell. It's just an amazing album. Great double album. Great way to end out the 70s for Pink Floyd. They had put out nothing but stellar albums all through the 70s, and this came out at the end of 79, so they closed out the decade with another masterpiece, a double album, The Wall. Great album. And finally, one of my favorite albums of all time, The Rolling Stones, Exile on Main Street. This album came out the same year I did, in 1972, and I've been listening to it ever since. This is one of those albums that it just never gets old. It works every time. It doesn't matter the situation. It doesn't matter what kind of mood I'm in. This album works every time. As soon as I hear those opening guitar chords to Rocks Off, I know I'm in for a good time, because this album is so great from start to finish. Tumbling Dice, Sweet Virginia, Let It Bleed, Lovin' Cup, or Let It Loose, I'm sorry, not Let It Bleed, and Shine a Light. Just amazing. One of my favorite albums of all time. It's hard to pick a favorite album of all time, of course, but this would definitely be a contender. So anyway, that's the list for today. Top 10 double albums in the collection. We put out a video every week. We want to thank everybody for watching. Thank everybody that left comments on the last few videos. You guys have great comments, great songs that we missed on great closing tracks, great opening tracks. Thanks for leaving the comments. We appreciate it. We enjoy reading them. We put out a video every week. So if you like that, like and subscribe. We'll be back next week with another one. Thanks for watching.